Alright, I just walked around this complex and eventually sat here because it has a roof and a chair, so I can read some books while feeling comfortable. It's breezy. Alright, let me see. I'll just read from page 132. Peanuts fortune. Peanuts. Peanuts. So you see, I did not have a mother to tell you who to marry, who not to marry, not like you. Although sometimes even a mother cannot help her daughter, no matter what. Remember that boy you thought you could not live without? What was his name? Randy. You don't remember. He was the first boy to pay you any attention. You brought him home one time for dinner. I watched how you smiled every time he spoke, how he paid no attention when you spoke. You said, have something to eat, and he did not say, no, you first, you have something to eat yourself. He said, do you have any beer in the house? And you were so embarrassed. You said, sorry, I'm real sorry. Later I told you, be careful. And you said, what are you talking about? I said, that man considers himself first, you second, and maybe later you'll be third or fourth, then never. But you would not believe me. So I said, if you always tell him you're sorry now, you'll always be sorry later. You know what you say to me, Ma? Why are you so negative thinking? This was not negative thinking. This was thinking for my daughter because she could not think for herself. And later, you did not mention his name anymore. But I saw your broken heart, your good heart, trying to keep all the pieces together, trying not to let me know. So I said nothing. You said nothing. I wasn't going to tell you. I told you so. Nothing of the kind. My heart was breaking for you too, because I know how it is to have a good heart, an innocent heart. When I was young, I had a good heart too. I did not know how to look at a person like Wenfu and think to myself, this man can cause me lots of trouble. This man can take my innocence away. This man will be the reason why I will always have to tell my daughter, be careful. When I met Wenfu, he was already in love with my cousin, Hua Zhen. She was New Aunt's daughter, the one we called Hua Shen, Peanut, Hua Shen, because she was small and plump like the two runs of a peanut shell. So you see, she was the one who was supposed to marry him. And now I'm wondering why it happened the other way. At the time, I was living in a house on Chongming Island, my home for almost 12 years. In all those years, I had not seen my father, not even when I was sent to boarding school in Shanghai. And every time I returned to my uncle's house, I had to act like a guest, never asking for things, waiting instead of for someone to remember what I needed. If I needed a new pair of shoes, for example, I would wait until guests come to visit. We would all be sitting downstairs having tea, and old aunt and new aunt would make the kind of easy conversation with that meant they had no problems or worries in this world. That's when I would let my old shoes peek out under everyone's nose. I would tap my foot a little, something old aunt would always scolded me for. And then I would wait for her face to turn red when she and all the family guests saw my big toe sticking out of a hole. So you see, I never felt I belonged to that family, yet they were the only family I knew. They were not mean to me, not really, but I knew they did not love me the way they did Peanut and my boy cousins. It was like this. During the evening meal, old aunt or new aunt might say to Peanut, look, your favorite dish. They might say to the little boys, eat more, eat more. before you blow away with the wind. They never said these things to me. They noticed me only when they wanted to criticize how I ate too quickly, how I ate too slowly. And there were other differences. When Peanut and I returned home from boarding school, Uncle would always give Peanut a secret gift: candied plums, money, a peacock feather, a peacock feather. To me, he would give me a pat on the head and say, "Wei, you're back." That was all. My own father's brother. He could not think of anything more to say. Of course, I hurt. Remembering this now, I hurt. But how could I complain? I was supposed to be grateful. They took me in, leftovers from my mother's disgrace. By their standards, they were good to me. They had no intention to be mean, no intention at all. And maybe that was why I hurt. They had no intentions for me. They forgot I did not have my own father, my own mother, someone who could tell what I was really feeling, what I really wanted, someone who could guide me to my expectations. From that family, I learned to expect nothing, to want so much. And then one year, all that changed. This was when I was 18 years old, during the small new year, right before the big New Year celebration began, when everyone turned 1 year older. So maybe it was 1937 by the Western calendar, in any case, before the start of the war. The New Year was a time when you could change your luck. Oh, we didn't have a kitchen gut, not like Auntie Do. We were country people, but not that old-fashioned, of course. Maybe the servants had a gut like that, and I don't remember it. In any case, we still had ways to think about luck, some just for fun, some more serious, and that day, I too was dreaming of a better life. Better than what? I don't know. I wasn't dreaming of winning $1 million, not like you do with the lottery. I had only a little hope in my heart that something would change. Maybe I wanted it to be less lonely. So you see, maybe that's why it happened, why I met Wenfu. Our New Year celebration was not like what you have in the United States today. Parades and firecrackers, lucky money for children, only fun. It was a day of thinking, according to our custom. When the new year began, not one single speck of dust from last year could remain. Not a single copper's worth of debt could be left unpaid. And not a single bad word could fall from anyone's mouth for 3 days. I loved the new year for that reason. No scolding from old aunt, no matter what. But 3 days before, that was different. You should have heard the shouts. As the sun rose on that last cold morning before the new year, Peanut and I could already hear her mother ordering the servants around. Clean this, clean that, not that way, this way. Peanut and I shared the same bay, although, of course, we each had our own quilt. We did not have blankets and sheets the way you do in this country, everything lying flat on top of you. Our quilts were rolled around us like two thick cocoons, very warm. That morning, Peanut was pulling her quilt over her head to find where her sleep had gone. But then we heard new aunt calling, "Peanut, you lazy girl, where are you?" You see how she called for only Peanut, not me? Her mother was not being nice to me, letting me sleep. She wanted her daughter to get up and learn how to put a house in order, so that one day Peanut would know how to be a proper wife. New aunt did not consider these were skills I should learn too, but I learned without anyone telling me what to do. I saw how the cotton batting of quilts had to pulled out and beaten just so. The covers washed fresh, no dirty spots left. Table legs had to be wiped down with oil until the wood shined back lustrous bright. Not greasy looking, and everything had to be pulled back from the walls, cabinets and armoires, so you could see where all the dust, spiders' nests, and mouse droppings were hiding. And I too heard the right way to scold a servant, the way new aunt said, "Why is this dirty when you say it is clean?" And later I watched old aunt in the kitchen. She was ordering the cooks to chop more meat and vegetables, and then she checked all her supplies. She lifted the lids on jars of peanut oil, soy sauce, and vinegar, smelled each one. She counted the number of fish swimming in a wooden bucket, the number of ducks and chickens pecking in the courtyard. She poked the sticky rice cakes filled with date paste to see if they had steamed long enough. She scolded a cook's helper for letting too many clouds of fat float in the chicken broth, scolded another one for cutting straps of squid the wrong way. "Stupid girl, they must curl up into a lucky ball when cooked. The way you've done it, they'll look like leftover strips of cloth. Bad luck." I learned all those lessons for my future. Oh, I tried to teach you the same things when you were growing up, but you never listened. You said it's boring, too much trouble. I'd rather eat McDonald's hamburgers instead. Yes, you did. You said those things. You see how eager I was to learn? When I was young, I already knew everything must look good, taste good, mean good things. The way it lasts longer, satisfy your appetite, also satisfy your memory for a long, long time. What else happened that day? Oh, I remember. Everyone had a task to do, not just the servants. As for me, I had to finish sorting through the family's clothes. For 1 week I had been doing this, mending anything that showed unlucky signs of prosperity coming apart. A loose thread, a little hole, a torn spot, a missing clasp or button. That morning I was in a big hurry to finish, so Peanut and I could let her go shopping in the marketplace. The night before, new aunt had given us enough money to buy New Year's gifts at the special stores set up at the marketplace. I was 1 year older than Peanut, but new aunt did not hand me the money. She counted it into her daughter's hand. Of course, Peanut was supposed to share, without new aunt saying so. Peanut was supposed to do that, but I knew what would happen. Peanut would spend the money fast on her own desires, or hold it tight in her hand until I had to embarrass myself and throw big hints her way. "Both of you, finish your task early, then you can go," new aunt had said. "But don't forget, even with luxuries, be frugal." That meant we were supposed to bargain down the shopkeepers. "And do not let your brothers eat too many sweets." That meant we were supposed to take little Gong and little Gao, who were 10 and 11. I took my mending outside, thinking I could sit on a quiet bench at the front of the house and dream about my secret desires. But Lao Gu, the servant who was head of the household, was already out on the lawn, showing hired workmen what needed repair. He pointed to the dark, wicker woven fence that surrounded our house like a large fish steamer. One workman was shaking his head. He stuck his hand through a big hole that little Gong had made 2 weeks before while riding his new bicycle. And then Lao Gu pointed to different parts of the house, saying, "For Old East, fix this. For New West, fix that." He was talking about the styles of the two halves of the house. Old East was the part where everyone lived, slept, and cooked, where babies were born, where old people died. It was a big Chinese house, only one story, with a square courtyard bordered by walkways and living quarters, all the doors and windows facing in. The most important rooms faced east, the kitchen at one end. Uncle's room and sitting rooms are the other. New West had been added later, maybe 50 years before. When our family first became rich on foreign money, selling silk thread for velvet, curtains and carpets. True to its name, New West faced west and stood 2 stories high, with 3 chimneys sticking out of the roof. It was fashioned after a fine English manner. That's what Old Aunt once said. But over the years, everyone kept building something else onto the front of the house. And after a while, all the good parts were covered up. So now it looked just like the back of an old farmhouse. That's where I went, up the front wooden steps of Old New West and into the porch area, thinking I would do my mending there. Uncle had added this porch maybe 10 years before. The summer after that, Old Aunt enclosed it top to bottom with wire mesh screens to keep insects out. But a few always managed to sneak in, and Old Aunt promptly squashed them with the bottom of her slipper. So here and there I still could see the broken remains of mosquitoes and dragonflies stuck to the mesh, their wings flying in the breeze like torn rice paper. Everything was rusted. The porch door sang with the wind. E. I felt I was stuck inside a cricket cage. This was not a good place to dream about my future. So I left the porch, and that's why I finally ended up in the greenhouse, the secret hiding place of my childhood. I looked in to see if it was empty. I wiped a window pane as carefully as it would the eye of a waking child. Empty, so many years empty. When he first came to the island, Uncle had added the greenhouse to the south side of New West, the side facing the sun. It looked like a drawer pulled out, left out. He used to boast that this was what English gentlemen did for a hobby: grow roses, grow orchids, grow luxuries that had no lasting value. He always called it hobby, just like the English. No Chinese word for doing something only to waste time, waste money. I don't know why he thought this was good, to imitate what foreigners did, as if everything Western were good, everything Chinese not so good. Every year, Uncle found a new hobby, and Old Aunt would shout at him, calling his new hobby happy, breathing out farts, which meant his ideas were worthless. All right, I'm going upstairs. Thank you for reading with me.